we should with each other. I said, video game lover. We should with each other.
Starting off was awkward for not only you but me too. Red heart on fire. New year, more work. You want to be stupid coming out of high school? Just hate teachers complaining about hating their life. They should quit, just saying. They say how they hate us, not their job. Same shit. As the group was walking, Atsumu stopped by a vending machine. He brought what he wanted and bent down. Picking up his strawberry chocolate bar, he took it out of the wrapping and basically put the whole thing into his mouth. They turned into the main hallway. It seemed huge. A boy started walking down the hallway holding his books. People nonchalantly moved out of the way for him to walk by. Is he fucking catwalking? Atsumu's eyes followed him the whole time he was in the hallway, but no one noticed. The boy was unbothered of it all, like he didn't notice people moving out the way just for him. Oikoa? Huh? Do I know about any new students this year? Aside from the first years, I think there was a couple starting in our year and second year. Okay. So, what's it matter to you? It doesn't. He pulled out his phone and started tapping away on it. Even if Oikoa was in the student council, he wanted to ask someone else about the curly head, or maybe find out about it himself. At least pay attention to me. I had something I wanted to add, but Atsumu pulled his nose out of his phone and looked at Oikoa with curiosity. Oikoa grinned and started walking ahead of the group. I was there when all the new second and third years were getting a tour. The third years? They were pretty hot. But you weren't there for the first years? So? I was busy. You can't lie to me. Busy with what? That's my private business. Private business my assocks. Stop offending me. Isn't your boyfriend over there? Oikoa looked over to see his boyfriend. He waved goodbye to the group and skipped over to the guy. When is that Iwaizumi fool going to realize Oix doesn't only fanboy for him? Honestly, he's head over heels for Oikoa. He's a fruity around us, but he's still loyal, I guess. Atsumu raised his eyebrow and shrugged at the two. Akashi and he waved goodbye to Kenma as they walked into their classroom. The desks all had name tags on them. Atsumu looked around to see himself sitting in the front of the class he wasn't expecting to, since all teachers seemed to dislike him. He stood there like an idiot looking at the same curly head sitting beside the seat with his name tag. Are you going to stand there all day? You're kind of blocking my view. Sorry. Atsumu rubbed the back of his neck and slid into his seat beside the curly head. It was a double school desk they were sitting at. He glanced at the guy and looked back at the blackboard. Seatmates. Huh? Yeah. This fucker is more intense up close. Atsumu was never like this. It was so hard for him to stir up a conversation. Starting up a conversation and directing the way he wants it to go was something he was good at. The teacher walked in and looked Atsumu up and down and scowled. Atsumu chose to ignore it, but as the lesson continued he couldn't stand that woman's face. It was irritating. He clicked his tongue and took his phone out of his pocket. He started recording her and the faces she made at him without her even noticing herself. Atsumu groaned and pushed his chair back, making a loud noise. The teacher turned around and looked as if she was about to blow. Atsumu hadn't even done anything yet. What? You ever been giving me ugly faces all damn class? I was trying so hard not to say anything. Yeah, ugly ass, marking it real hard in here. You're a disrespectful child. Your parents didn't raise you right. Is that so? Alright, okay. Atsumu's smirk led to a loud laugh. No one couldn't say anything about Atsumu and their teacher's conversation. Atsumu smiled evilly at her as he pulled his phone up to her view. You look good on cam, teach. She looked at the phone with a raised eyebrow before realizing it was on record the whole time. You're a bad student. Everyone knows that. I wasn't treating you anyway. You're a bad teacher. Everyone knows that. Atsumu smiled and got up on his table and turned to the rest of the class. He put his hand up and shouted, I say we do some damage. Sakusa looked at the boy and it felt so weird to be near someone so wild and not scared to talk back or prove their point. But the thing was, he had a devious tongue. All Sakusa could think is, what a year this is going to be. Let's blackmail her. Lovely hearts. How cool of you, Tsumu. She was pissing me off. Of course she was. Akashi sighed and handed him another chocolate bar from his bag. Atsumu grinned and unwrapped the wrapper and ate it. Atsumu had a bad habit of getting all riled up. Food always seemed to take his mind off of it, so Akashi always had snacks on him. But they weren't always for Atsumu. A guy's gotta eat. Quite a show. Tsumu loved it. Oikoa walked towards the duo with Iwaizumi and Kenma walking with him. They all took a seat at the round table. It spread that fast? Someone was live streaming on Instagram. And our homeroom hooked it up to the projector. I'm going to make her life more horrible than it was, then get her bitch ass fired. And how exactly are you going to do that? You'll see when it happens. Sounds boring. So what? Stop being mean. I didn't do anything. Yeah, being dramatic as always, Ix. Atsumu got up from the table, said his goodbyes and made his exit. He's getting heated for no reasons. He would usually make fun of the teachers and laugh it off with his friends after it was down. Something was running in his mind, causing his replies to be more harsh. He heard his phone vibrate in his pocket. He took it out and checked his notifications. It was just his brother and Suna laughing at the fact he was fully putting a teacher in their place. As he was walking down the hall he saw his seatmate. He looked a bit lost. Atsumu jumped up and walked to the mail. Hey, again. Sorry if I made you uncomfortable in class. It's understandable. I saw the way she was looking at you. Are all teachers here like that? No, course not. It's just I'm not their favorite. Why no? You seem too entertaining for them. That's a great way to put it. Oh, were you looking for something? You looked a bit lost there. No. Speaking of that, something came up. Sakusa brushed past Atsumu in somewhat of a rush. Atsumu wanted to ask him to stay, but they didn't seem close enough for that. I didn't even tell him my name. Atsumu grumbled and walked towards his other class. It was after lunch and he thought that he had so many classes before he could see the guy again. He mumbled curse words as he walked. Atsumu even felt like the male didn't even want to talk to him. That's why he slipped by him so fast. Was he too awkward? Finally at home yet still sulking at something that happened at school. Atsumu should be jumping around bragging how the class was now his, but here he was, eating cold Starburst candies with his laptop and blanket. He was just binging random videos on YouTube, from the replay of his speech from class then to daily doses of internet video and somehow to Miss Universe pageants. Go Miss Philippines. That's a real woman right there. Completely forgetting what time it was, he just kept watching pageant replays for Miss Universe from 2018. He fell in love with the winner. He even found a video of her dancing before going on stage. Such a flex to like girls and guys. Horizontal ellipsis. Go Miss Philippines. Dash. The sun was rising and Atsumu was still watching random shit under his blanket with his candy wrappers. He heard his alarm go off and he jumped up. He didn't realize his dumbass was up the whole night. He turned off the alarm and looked at the time. 2 a.m. Ugh. Atsumu got up and put his laptop back at his desk. After that he started picking out his clothes for the day. Loose black leather pants, fitted black shirt and black boots. He took a shower and changed his clothes. He took all his belongings and made his way downstairs. He saw his mom cooking and he walked over to her and kissed her cheek. Mornin' ma. Mornin' my baby. Atsumu smiled at his mom and took a bottle of water from the fridge. He sat down at the table and checked the video. It had 5,000 more views than it did when he last checked it. The twins' mom was sharing out the food for Atsumu at the table and for Osamu, who was yet to come downstairs. As Atsumu started digging in his food, his father came downstairs with an irritated face. He sat down at the table facing Atsumu. Mornin' pa. Morning Atsumu. Atsumu noticed his father's irritated attitude, but he brushed it off and continued to eat. His dad's glare started to make him shiver. He looked up to still see his dad looking at him with an angry look. What's wrong, Pops? His dad sighed and took his phone out from his shirt pocket. He tapped on it and turned it around for Atsumu to see. It was the video of Atsumu telling the teacher off. Again. I know she was an asshole, but everyone saw this. And not in a good way. This looks incredibly bad on you. I couldn't help but think about it all night. You could have gone about it another way. You were foolish. You looked dumb. Get it through your thick skull. You can do what you want and think it goes. And it reflects on the rest of your family. This is your last year. Do something good for yourself. Atsumu pushed out of his chair and looked at his father angrily. Mr. Mia followed Atsumu's recent actions. It was a terrifying sight. Exactly. It's my fucking last year. I'm going to do what I want. It's my life, not yours. You can't change who I am. Don't even try it. I raise you. Watch your mouth. All you like to talk about is nonsense. Being the class clown or rebel is going to get you anywhere in life. It'll give you disadvantage. You don't know what I want to do. You've never asked once about it. You never cared what I wanted to do for a living cause it was useless to you. It's always you. Atsumu picked up his school bag and ran out the house. He never remembered it being this complicated because he's always ignored it. He ignored the negative things his father had said. He always just did what his father recommended to him. The study methods, the courses for each year. He was lucky when his father said dance would be good for him to loosen his body and stay in shape. His father was not a bad person. He was just the person of the house that likes when things go his way. Atsumu couldn't help but feel heartbroken. He said what he wanted to. It was his thoughts, his feelings, his lips, his voice. It was all him. He acted on his own and it led him to pure disappointment by his one and only father. School started in the next 2 hours and clubs wouldn't be open for another 30 minutes, so he couldn't even get into the school if he wanted. He started walking down the street mindlessly, not even noticing he ended up on a street pretty far from his house. He walked down the street to see many cafes and food stalls. It was very detailed. Atsumu walked into the only cafe that he could stand. All the other cafes had very bright colors. It was blinding. He walked up to the cashier and looked at the menu above. He decided that he would get a cold sweet drink so his brain would still be working from the sugar. He ordered, and as he was giving the money to the cashier he noticed who it was. Didn't expect seeing you here. Same to you. Sakusa took the money from Atsumu's hand and gave back the remaining change. He got Atsumu's drink ready and handed it to him. Would you like to walk with me when you're done? Sakusa looked at Atsumu with a raised eyebrow. He didn't remember this blondie being so shy and cute yesterday. Sure. I finish in 15 minutes. Atsumu smiled at him and walked over to a table. As he sat down he took a sip of his drink. He drank it too fast, causing him to get a brain freeze. He made a sour face, trying to get rid of the pain, so he rubbed his forehead to soothe the coldness. After getting rid of the brain freeze he looked at Sakusa, who was looking back at him. He smiled awkwardly and put his head down, letting his hair fall in his face. Nice going, Atsumu. He whispered under his breath. He wanted to somehow impress the curly head. Sakusa seemed way out of his league. He was gorgeous. He had his own job. He didn't need anyone's help with finding his classes after the tour. Unlike other students who still needed help after being shown the school. He couldn't imagine being this bent up about wanting someone's attention. Soon his thoughts were interpreted by his phone vibrating over and over again in his pocket. He rolled his eyes and took his phone out of his pocket. New messages from Asamuzi Cow. Tsumu. Tsumu. Atsumu. I know what dad said was wrong, but don't just run out the house like that. And at least answer me. Atsumu sighed as the messages kept rolling in. He sighed and shot Osamu back a text. Stop being overdramatic. You've got the wrong twin sister information desk, man. But anyway, stop messing around. The fuck is your dumbus? I'm just at a store. You'll see me at school later. Lmao had me thinking I could finally play wild side at your funeral. Always a bitch. I'll give a fucking strip show at your wedding. Oh wait, no one would ever marry your ass, so your funeral it is then, red heart. I'll throw you out the window when you're sleeping. As Atsumu was about to answer, he looked up and saw Sakusa walking towards him. Atsumu stood up quickly and brushed his clothes off. He grabbed his bag and walked towards Sakusa. That was fast. I guess so. The duo walked out the store and towards their school. Well, Atsumu was just mainly following Sakusa because he had no damn clue where to go. Atsumu cleared his throat and rubbed the back of his neck. I've never got your name yet. Sakusa glanced over at Atsumu. He looked like a nervous wreck. Sakusa, Kayumi, me, yeah, Atsumu. Nice to know, Sakusa-kun. Atsumu choked on his words because nothing was solved between him and his father. Sakusa seemed to notice the pause in Atsumu's voice, but it wasn't his business anyway. So, why did you exactly come to our school in year last year? Just my father's business. Hearing that, Atsumu guessed his father was either failing miserably or incredibly successful for his business, but it was the second option. Why would Sakusa be working in a cafe? Maybe to get his credits up before graduation. What's your favorite color? Green. Yours? I would have to say yellow. Or blue. Yale blue to be specific. Do you have a favorite tone of green? Atsumu looked at Sakusa curiously. Sakusa sighed and tried to think of a shade of green at the top of his head. Boy, was Atsumu already a handful. Jade green. It's the color of my eyes. What? Jade green is light. I meant the darker version. If you don't believe me, take a look. Sakusa bent down a bit, which would have offended Atsumu, but he was mesmerized by Sakusa's face. He looked in Sakusa's eyes and saw the green shining in them. They almost looked black. A cold sweat fell down Atsumu's face as he slowly moved back. Sakusa scent was now his new favorite thing after seconds of smelling it. What a creep he is. Yeah. Never thought your eyes were green. Neither did anyone else. Enough about me. I've never seen anyone with eyes like yours. They're like a mixture of golden and hazel. Your eyes are pretty. They stand out more than mine. By now Atsumu's cheeks tinted a light pink. He couldn't take it. Even though Sakusa didn't mean it in any way, he was still so flustered. Thanks. Sakusa looked over at Atsumu out of the corner of his eyes, noticing the blush on his cheeks. Sakusa's cheeks started changing color as he realized he talked too much. It's no problem. As the duo started walking for a while, Atsumu finally started to notice where he was. He cleared his throat and faced Sakusa. You in any clubs? Saku-kun? Yeah. I'm in a couple. Oh. Which ones? They'll bore you. Don't say such things. Tell me. Just the cooking and book club. You? The dance club. Doesn't our school have clubs with different dance genres? Atsumu put his hands to his mouth and nodded. The school they attended was huge. They had 2 different buildings. I meant to add, it's the hip hop dance club. Nice. Honestly, none of them knew what to say. It was awkward and Atsumu got flustered quickly, which led Sakusa himself to get flustered as well. They finally reached the school. The gates were opening and students were walking inside. I'll see you later. See ya. Sakusa walked away with a blush on his face. Atsumu was so likable. It was like he wasn't that same guy from class yesterday. Yes, Atsumu proved his point and is in the right, but it only matters from the way you put it. As Atsumu was walking, he ran into his brother. They just stood still looking at each other before saying, I'd like to see you try it. Hope you like the leaves outside. Whatever, Samu. What time you leave the house? About 15 minutes after you. Ma was confronting Pa cause he didn't mean what he said. I don't believe that. He's just upset because I called him out on it. You don't mean that. We have a lovable dad. Yeah, just angry, and so is he. Atsumu gritted his teeth in anger. Their father wasn't the way he was before. He was more strict. Wanted things to go his way. Wanted the twins to have the career path he wanted. I don't want to get mad at you or anything, but you know he's not the same way he used to be. I'm too tired for this. I'm tired of trying to impress him even though I hate doing it. I'll talk to him after school. I appreciate you sending me funny texts. I'll see you later. He walked away with a visible frown on his face. He arrived at his locker and put the code in, followed by taking out the things he needed. He put it in his bag, swinging it over his shoulder afterwards. After shutting his locker, his phone started to ring, but Atsumu ignored it as if his phone wasn't real. He walked down the empty hallway to the library. He opened the door and walked in. He greeted the librarian and pulled out a random book from the shelves and sat down near the table by the back window. He took his phone out of his pocket to see his mom calling. He declined the call and turned his phone off. He finally looked at the cover of the book and his eyebrow twitched. Boyfriend material. Atsumu, the hell is this book doing in a school library? Atsumu looked around him and sighed in relief when he realized no one was around him, meaning no one heard him. He flipped open the book and started skipping through it. When he got to page 20 the page was just blank. He turned to a few more pages and it was the same thing, just a blank page. This book isn't even done. He started reading the book more properly and as he was doing that he felt someone sit beside him. He looked up to see. Funny seeing you here. Same to you. Atsumu's eyes averted back to the book and so did Katoshi's. His mouth formed an O shape as he read the title. Nice book you got there. I randomly picked it up. Nothing special. Katoshi smiled and got up. Yeah right. What was that? Just remembered something. Catch you later. He walked away from the table. His smile soon turned into a smirk. He felt so excited. I wonder who the lucky person is. Now that is something I have to know. Dash. The time went by with Atsumu wasting it by doing random stuff. From reading that book to playing tic-tac-toe all by himself and the list goes on. Soon the school bell went off signaling the school day was just starting. Atsumu sighed and got up from his seat. He picked up all his things and walked out of the library. He was walking towards his class when he ran into Akashi and Oikawa. Oikawa being himself jumped on Atsumu, literally killing Atsumu in his arms. Don't ghost me like that. I personally thought Samu-chan threw you out the window like he said he would. Atsumu pushed some of Oikawa's weight off of him and looked at him. He said what? What song he should play at your funeral after he threw you out the window? And when was this? Earlier in the group chat. That little shit. Don't ignore me. You're supposed to love me. Yeah, too extra. I wouldn't if you paid attention to me. HMPH. Did Mr. Iwaiwa not cuddle you or something? I don't wanna talk about it. Guess that's what happened then. Atsumu and Akashi had to walk Oikawa to his class. They left him by the door and made it to their own classroom. Atsumu sat beside Sakusa while Akashi went towards the back of the class. Hey again Saku-kun. Hi Mia. I'd rather go by Atsumu. Oh. Alright then. How was your club? A bit chaotic. That seems more fun than spending over an hour in the library. Half of the books weren't even on the shelves yet. Don't you have your club too? They are having auditions. So no actual club members can go in the club room. I've never been this bored. I bet you're just over-exaggerating it. As soon as Sakusa finished that sentence Mrs. Smith walked in. Atsumu greeted her with a sly smile and a wave. He forgot about all the backfire he got from his father because of this woman. Because she was such an ass. Mrs. Smith rolled her eyes and put her papers down at her desk. The class had a different vibe. She didn't like it but yet it was all her fault it was like that. The class started with Mrs. Smith feeling uncomfortable. The students were sending her looks that weren't exactly pleasant. As the lesson continued Atsumu started to doze off. The fatigue was catching up to him after being up all night. He soon fell asleep with no troubles. His back was against the chair and his head was tilting up a bit. Sakusa looked over to see Atsumu completely out. His mouth was open a bit and his soft snores were only heard by Sakusa. How could he just fall asleep like that? Sakusa admired the way Atsumu's hair fell back into his face. He looked so peaceful and not to mention cute. The class continued and Atsumu started to slide. He slid down right onto Sakusa's shoulder. Sakusa continued his work and let Atsumu sleep on him. He actually liked the warmth he was receiving. He didn't really know why he was letting his awkward guy just lay on him. The right side of his brain was telling him something whilst the left was telling him another. Mrs. Smith walked by the two and looked at Atsumu with disgust. She looked up at Sakusa and gave him an awkward smile, like he was being cursed by Atsumu. He completely saw the look Atsumu was talking about. He ignored her sympathetic looks and just continued what he was doing. Time went by and Atsumu was snuggling into him closer and closer by the second. Sakusa was sweating immensely. He has never been so close to another person. Atsumu just smelled so good. He smelled so sweet. Unlike other guys he's been around, the scent was overbearing. It didn't hurt his nose. Instead he wanted to smell it more. Why are you already driving me crazy? It's only been a day, Atsumu. Sakusa whispered and smiled warmly at Atsumu. A certified smip already a day in. The bell rang, frightening Atsumu out of his sleep. He sat up straight, not even noticing he was full on sleeping on Sakusa. He looked down at his watch and yawned lazily as he read the time. He picked up his bag and waved at Sakusa and started to walk out of the class. He was too tired. Staying up the whole night was a mistake. Out of the corner of his eye he saw Katoshi walking up to Sakusa. Atsumu smiled, feeling like Katoshi didn't have a chance whatsoever but Atsumu didn't think of any other topic but Katoshi wanting Sakusa. Katoshi walked up behind Sakusa and tapped him on the shoulder. Sakusa put the remaining items in his school bag and stood up. He turned around to see Katoshi. It's me, Katoshi. I'm in the cooking club with you. Oh, you need something? I admire your cooking and I really want to be friends with you. If you don't mind of course. Not many people actually join the cooking club so new members just have to prepare a meal, like a welcoming dish. Sakusa made something regular, something he knew how to make since he was young. It was a plain omelette but everything was perfect. Katoshi was in love with Sakusa's cooking but he just happened to have other plans. Sure. That's great. Sakusa started walking out the classroom with Katoshi following not far behind him. Have you made any other friends yet? Just our club president and Atsumu, the guy I sit beside. Atsumu? I didn't really see that coming. And why's that? He wasn't the nicest, but me and him became friends. He rubbed the back of his neck and smiled. He made Atsumu seem different than how he lets off. Atsumu is only a person that barks up when someone enters his space unwanted, says unwanted stuff, or treats him in a type of way that makes him feel disrespected in some sort. Hey, would you mind hanging out sometime? If I'm not busy. Busy already? It's just the start of the school year. Busy guy, aren't you? I guess you can say that. You better not keep me hanging. Katashi waved and turned around, walking the opposite way. Guessing he's the one. I would have never guessed. Atsumu's never loose like that. Really thought he was joking when he said he liked guys alike. Why do I even care about this? My envy for him grows so much I want to take things before he can get his hands on it. Katashi was just so impressed with Atsumu, his confidence, his looks, and how he handles stuff. He always has to end it with a big bang. Atsumu was always so special in Katashi's eyes, making him so envious of Atsumu. Katashi always looked at Atsumu from the outside. That's why he wanted to be him. He's never seen the inside and the self-doubts Atsumu carries with him every day. If you look amazing on the outside, no one will care how you look on the inside. Is what he thought for everyone except his brother, but he soon found real friends, therefore that took a turn on his thoughts. A few days had passed since the first days of school and Atsumu was a bit caught up with his club. He and his father had still not talked about the incident and were still ignoring each other. The Miya household was quite awkward. While all of this was going on, Takashi was hooking onto his dear friend Sakusa the whole time. Since they were in the same club, made everything even more annoying. The only good thing Atsumu looked up to was meeting with Sakusa at his job in the early morning, his friends later when school started, and his dance club. Atsumu was lying on his bed still looking at the same book he had borrowed from the library a few days ago. This book is useless. Miss Philippines is way more beautiful and entertaining than this book. Atsumu tossed the book aside and picked up his phone. He pressed the Instagram app and looked up Miss Philippines of 2018, where he soon discovered her name was Katrina Gray. He pressed the follow button and started looking at all her posts. When he was finally finished, he went back into the search where he saw a few suggested people. Sakukomo. Weird name. Atsumu pressed on the account and his eyes widened. This was definitely Sakusa's account. Atsumu pressed on the first post. It was just Sakusa standing side by side with a smiling brunette. Atsumu scrolled up to see a selfie with Sakusa frowning and the same brunette boy putting bunny ears over Sakusa's head. He tried to scroll up again, but it kept reloading. There are only 2 posts. I want more. Atsumu followed Sakusa and went to bed hardly. He was now leaving the house. He marched out the door and walked to the same cafe he did every day. He felt excited to see Sakusa today. Same route as usual. Atsumu arrived at the cafe as Sakusa's shift was ending. He walked in and greeted his new friends, who happened to be Sakusa's co-workers. Sakusa walked out from the back room and stood right in front of Atsumu, towering over him. Just cause you're a few inches taller doesn't mean shit. Sure, a few inches shorter, boy. How could ya? I'll grow taller than ya. Doubt that. I'm at 6 feet 3. And what are you? 5 feet 11? I'm 6 feet 1, jerk. Sakusa, I could never believe that. Sakusa smirked at Atsumu. Their friendship was growing and so was their love for teasing each other. Their likings for each other was a shock because they've never felt it before. The duo soon reached the gate and said their goodbyes, but as Atsumu was about to walk away, he noticed something on the floor. He walked towards it and picked it up. Saku-kun's keys? Never seen them up close, but damn. Fanboy alert. It was his keys with a cat noir keychain attached to it. Atsumu was laughing to himself when he noticed something else. Motorcycle keys? Atsumu only noticed how they were motorcycle keys by their size. Motorcycle keys tend to be more skinny and smaller than car keys. He has a motorcycle. And Saku-kun didn't bother to tell me. Guessing he was shy. Atsumu smiled and started walking in the direction Sakusa went. He entered the school building and started walking towards the cooking club. What he discovered was that Sakusa only did cooking club in the mornings and book club after school. Atsumu huffed because the cooking club was on the 3rd floor of the school building, but he wouldn't mind if he got to see his friend again. As he was about to climb the final stairs to the 3rd floor, he heard people talking. He stopped for a second and realized the voices sounded familiar. He looked through the stairs to see Sakusa and Katashi. Thanks for coming. I just wanted to ask. I found a restaurant where people can cook their own meals. I was wondering if you maybe wanted to come with me. As a date, I mean.